Most women I know and clients that I've worked with have this wonderful way of knowing exactly what they need to do. They're brilliant. And the catch is that they're equally brilliant at not doing it. Not because they're confused, not because they lack courage, but because somewhere along the way, and I know you know this for yourself, they learn that acting on what they know is dangerous. And so that's the topic today, is the dangerous power of trusting yourself. I'm Gillian Windsor, and I'm really delighted that we're here together. So let's go exploring some more. I want to be clear that I'm not talking about dangerous as in reckless. That's not, as you would probably think, we're talking about. Dangerous as in it will ask something of you in the moment where you don't feel ready and you don't have a plan. Here's an example from my own life. Some years ago, I was traveling, I was in an airport, and it was the usual airport chaos. Everybody rushing here, rushing there, noise, confusion, people on their phones bumping into each other. You know the drill. You know, you've been there. And then something in the middle of all of this, there was this scene going on. And it was between this woman and this little girl. I guess she must have been about 5, maybe 6, barely 6. And it stood out because it was quite an event that was happening. And I want to be clear, this is not a woman or a parent. I don't know if she was a parent or not, but this woman was yelling and calling this child names and holding her hand and shaking her arm and shaking her body, like really violently. Now, I know we've all seen that that scenario where a child melts down. If you're a parent, you've probably experienced it yourself, where a child just melts down in the middle of all the chaos. You're out in public and they just have a fling and bang. I'm not talking about that. This was something else. This was something that was shocking. It really hit hard. And I know that other people were witnessing it too. And that's what I was aware of. It hit me so hard. It jolted me. And I stood there, and in those moments, I had this thought: right now, that little girl is learning something about herself, that she's learning that she doesn't matter, that she isn't valued, or that she's valuable. And something in me just really shook and woke up. And I knew I had to do something. This was not a regular event. And as I said, the people around, they did see it, but they chose to walk away. And in those other moments that followed, I thought somebody has to do something. It's like, duh, that's me. I'm the one that's witnessing this. I'm the one that's seeing it. I'll tell you what happened in the rest of the story later, because it holds the key to everything that we're going to discuss today. So I know that you've had moments like that in your life. Maybe it's the conversation that went sideways. Maybe it was in a meeting. Maybe you had an encounter similar, or something happened. And it's in those moments that we start looking for, what are we going to do? If you cast your mind back to one of those times, I'm sure you can feel the tension of it, even now in your body. There's an edginess to it. There's something that is subtle and not so subtle, and that it's telling you that something isn't right and that something needs to change. And it could be a big thing, it could be a small thing. It doesn't matter. You felt that nudge, that edge, that tension. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe you're in touch with it now. Maybe you've got a memory of that conversation or that moment. So then, this is what's happened in my experience. I've experienced all of these things. And, um, but also it's what I witness with my clients. They know what they have to do. They know what they have to say. And then something else steps in, something else takes over. And it can be, oh, you're making too much about this. You're overreacting. Maybe I've got it wrong. It's not the time. I'll talk to them later. That's a good one. Or there's something about, well, if I do that, it's not appropriate, or I might upset them. There's a whole slew of different sentences, phrases that come forward. So then usually what happens next is that we just get busy. We just carry on and we let it kind of like fade away. Just like, oh, just, it's okay. It's all right. Things will work out. It's fine. And so we keep moving and we keep carrying on. But underneath that, you still know. You still have that little niggle. You still have that very particular kind of discomfort. And it's clarity. It's a knowing that hasn't had any action taken. You know, that in and of itself has its own danger. So when was that moment that you felt that? When you talked yourself out of it? When you were confronted by something that really didn't sit well with you? What was the sentence or the phrase that came and crowded in and pushed away the very thing that you knew needed to be addressed? The thing that told you it's okay to let go and just let it, drop it. We each have that phrase. It, but it's the outcome that happens. We'll carry that with us. We'll pretend it didn't have an impact. We'll pretend, well, It's okay. It doesn't matter. If you're in touch with that now, I want to highlight that that knowing doesn't disappear, does it? It's still right here. The only thing is, it can go undercover. It can just drop down and niggle away quietly. And you can get really good at managing it over time. But something happens there. Even though it looks like everything on the outside is just hunky dory, you inside, you're not quite on form. It's like a split has happened inside. You had the movement to move and you pull back. And that pullback is what costs you trusting yourself. That's what undermines you to trust yourself in the future. So pay attention to that place within you, because as life goes on, that split, that shutting down can take a toll on your health, on your joy, on your well-being. And that's another kind of danger. So when it comes to following that knowing and taking action and risking wildly there, it can affect your relationships because you're not going to show up the same way. It'll shift how people will see you, perceive you. You're not going to fit inside their little neat, tidy box that they've put you in. It could take you out of the roles and the dynamics where you felt like you were as close to belonging as you could be. But it's costing you that really true connection to yourself. And so that's another aspect of the dangerous power of trusting yourself, because it can change your life. It could change somebody else's life. It could have a profound impact on everything around you. So if you've been practicing and discovering how you have this really amazing innate wisdom, and you've been practicing leading from there, then that danger starts to fall away, because now you're really in touch with the magnificent power of trusting yourself. And let's be clear that I'm not talking about confidence. Confidence is another aspect. But to have confidence, you have to have self-trust. I know for myself, in the moments that I've stood and moved. It feels incredibly edgy. And also, there isn't a plan necessarily. It really is like you're stepping off a cliff edge into the unknown because you're really being called to step forward, to really use your voice and feel into what is important for you to speak up. You are really at a pivotal point, and this is where most people turn back because it's it's more comfortable there in the known place, because stepping out and across that edge is the unknown. What have you been pushing aside that really is grabbing your attention and that you know very clearly requires you to address it? What is the tension? What is the quality of that? There is like a calling that's there. And what's so beautiful is that calling is where you learn to trust yourself. So I'm going to go back and finish the story of the little girl and the woman who was with her. Like I said, I don't know if that was her mother. It didn't seem like it. It seemed like some kind of guardian or something. I don't know why I got that impression, but I did. So I took a deep breath and I walked forward, and I didn't have a big speech. I didn't have any big plan. I just walked over to her and I said, "Stop. That's enough. This child is precious and deserves to be treated with respect." It came out like clean, clear, direct. It actually shocked the woman. And then I looked at the little girl, and what I saw in her face and in her eyes was a moment where she had been acknowledged, it registered. And for a moment, could see that she didn't feel alone. And I still carry her with me from that moment. I carry that look with me. I don't know what impact it had on her long term, but I know that somewhere deep down inside, she had somebody that stepped forward and spoke up for and on behalf of her. That somewhere in deep in her consciousness, she had been acknowledged. It felt dangerous to do that on on a nervous system level, but I knew I had to. I knew that was the call. It's, and I want to say, it's not a feeling of certainty at all, but it is a deep knowing of what is truth, my truth, your truth. So as I bring this to a close, I'll leave you with this. Who in your life needs to be seen and acknowledged? Is it you? What action needs to be taken that will honor your voice and your wisdom in any situation? Where do you need to stop negotiating with what you know and instead lean into it and move from it? You came into this talk today because something in you was already ready to act. Trust that.